Hello everybody. So these fuel rails are turning out to be a royal pain in the butt. It's nice that I have the flow. I probably could have got away with using the stock rail, and well, I know I could have because there's plenty of people running the horsepower that I'll be seeing with the stock rail. But if I was going to spend the money for the fuel system, I wanted to go ahead and just never have to worry about it again. So anyway, part of the problem I'm running into now, besides this area that I had to cut out so the nut would be there, is, well, you can see the fitting doesn't want to fit. And to do something like this doesn't make sense in my application. And then this one fits nicely because of oil caps right here. And then this one here, I haven't figured out if this is going to be my feed or return, but either way, these are going to be sitting about like this. So I left these fittings on here. So right now, I'm just going to make up a hose jumping these two. It's like 11 3/8. I'm going to give it a little extra room. If the fittings end up down like this because the hose is slightly longer, that'll be okay. I don't want the hose to be shorter. That would be bad because then it would be pulling on the rail. Give you an idea of what that looks like. So I got to extend these out a little bit just because it's bumping into the blower. Like I said, can't tighten it all the way because of that. But that's going to be the crossover. It's in the back. I got plenty of room. The firewall's, oh man, 3-4 inches away from that easy. So no problem there. So I have shown in other videos how to make these hoses. I've definitely gotten better at making them. Little tricks that I'll show you next time I make a hose. I don't know if it'll be in this video, but I'll show you some tricks on how to make it go together with no problem, how to not beat up your fitting so much if you're not using the aluminum wrenches, which are very expensive. I can't believe those cost so much. Well, we're going to be routing the fuel line. This is the supply line from the pump, and I'm going to be putting a hole in the airbox down below and coming through here, coming across, going down to the edge of this box, looping around it, and I'm going to have a clamp here, and then it's going to go over to the 45-degree fitting. And what that'll do is that'll allow the other side of the blower to go around the back side into the regulator as a return. Any engine movement this way, revving, there's lots of flexibility there. If I could come out that side with the feed and around, and then I would still have to try to find a way to bring this back to the regulator. And as you can see, it's going to be sitting in here like this. So this is the return. Well, it's not the return, but it's a return from the rail into the regulator. It's not return to tank. So it's already pointing to the back. So we're just going to make that go around to the other side of the rail over here. Makes the most sense, and there's plenty of room behind the engine. So let me show you how we're going to make the hole in that airbox without making a bunch of mess. This is a Greenlee punch. They're really nice. Punch through pretty thick steel. I mean, sheet metal wise anyway. This is a 7/8. This grommet here has a 5/8 hole, and I believe it's going to take a 7/8 because measuring with my calipers, 1 inch, it's definitely smaller than 1 inch in there. The next one down is 7/8, and the next one before that's 3/4, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be too tight because I used a 3/4 to run the hose in the frame, and it was pretty tight in there. So we're going to use this one. You can see the forcing screw, and you do have to drill a small hole in order to get the forcing screw through to put the cutter on the back side of the sheet metal. That's the only thing bad about these, is you have to have access to both sides. I have my trusty stepper drill. I'm going to open it up to 3/8. That's what the black line is. So when it pokes through on this side, I can see that I'm through. It's going to be a little hard to do to see the black side, to see the black mark going through this material. The material's fragile. I don't want to take it out because it's also buttoned in down there at the heat shield. Pretty hard to get to. I'm hoping the punch will make a nice clean hole. It should, pretty clean. But I have to do a pre-drill so that this will be able to grab something. So I set my 90-degree drill up, pneumatic, and I just grabbed a small bit. You can see it's kind of a tight fit. I mean, it'll be okay. Glad I bought this thing. I ended up buying it for a deck project here at the house, and I've only had it a few months and I've already used it like 6 or 7 times. Really handy for getting in tight places. I drilled the 3/8 holes using my stepper bit, and since it's easier to wrench from inside the airbox, that's where I'm going to place this. I put a little bit of grease on the forcing screw, so it's a little easier on the threads. So this piece isn't spinning, which is good, because I really don't want it to. I don't want it spinning and tearing up that material. I'd rather just have a nice hole. As you can see, that made a nice puncture, and very nice. So the grommet will fit perfectly through there, and then the hose will fit through, and I should be able to make that airtight. Nice thing about the PTFE fuel lines is it doesn't make, you don't smell the gas vapor. It's impermeable. The CPE hose, you'll smell fuel vapor around the car. This stuff doesn't do that, so I don't mind it being in here with the airbox. There's absolutely no problem. I'm not going to get any smell at all. The only place I would get smell is escaping past the holes I've made. So I'm going to take a vacuum to the inside of this and clean up the little bit of junk down there in the bottom. All right. Of course, we have protection on the end of the hose because I don't want the stainless steel wire hitting the paint. Ran the hose through the hole and put the grommet on first, because I want to put the grommet on from the inside. It's just easier to work this direction with this than to try to fight this insulation here. Had to be careful pulling the hose through that I didn't rub it on the insulation because it was wanting to tear that. So let's put the grommet in. I'll be careful I don't poke it into the hose. I don't want to. Be pretty hard to do that with the stainless steel braid, but it is going to be a tight one. Trying to get that groove to go over the sheet metal. Nice fit around the hose. Snug, but I can still move it if I need to. Coming right out there. Well, as you guys know, the fuel supply line's coming out from the firewall there. Actually, it's the air box. And I have it coming across the ABS, and going down underneath this loom here. So it's riding along there, and then I used a cable clamp. I keep calling them hose clamps, but they're cable clamps, 5/8 attached there, and that holds that hose really tight. And then I just looped it around in here, and this one's not mounted yet. It's actually going to be mounted underneath this tab because I like the way it looks better. But this is going to come up, and then it's going to go right into the fitting. The fitting's going to come out at a 45, so this will be a perfect mate for it. So that'll be feed. And then the return there, well, it's not actually a return. The return is that bottom EFI connection. This is a return to regulator on the top, the pressure side. That is right here for now. And once we get the blower on here, after I have the fitting adapters, we're going to measure this off. I cut this a few inches longer so we'd be safe. So the Hobbs switch that turns on the secondary fuel pump, I mounted here. I used a couple of these cable clamps and just bent the tabs. They're both 5/8 clamps, and I attached one and then mounted it to the back of the box. So it's just floating off of one mount, but it's mounted in rubber, so it's isolated. 4 Innovations 5-pound PSI switch. Right on the switch it says don't mount it on the engine or components because the vibration can make it malfunction. So this should be isolated pretty well. Yeah, about the only way I could isolate it better is to hang it from my rearview mirror on zip ties or something. So this should work. It's pretty solid. It doesn't slip out. I'm just going to put some split loom here and run this back to the relay. Or I might be using the FC3 controller. I like that controller. A little expensive, but it's nice and neat and small, easy to wire up. I'm all about easy to wire up. So this little boost connection will go over to the boost on the supercharger, and then it'll tee off and go to the boost reference right here on the regulator. So the regulator, I have plans to have a digital fuel gauge in the cab, or at least viewable from the driver's seat. I haven't quite figured out where I'm going to put it. I'm thinking about actually having it outside the car, viewable outside the windshield. I don't know if I have the room under there or not, but we'll see about that. That's another video.